everyone, so welcome to my channel. Today, and I always start my videos off like this, but I get so excited when it comes to using art supplies and especially testing out new supplies. Now, there is a story behind this, and I'm sure that some of you will realise that Arteza have sent out a lot of products to a lot of YouTubers to review. When they got in touch with me for the second time, I did actually say to them I would love to collaborate with them, but I really wanted to try their gouache because for the longest time, as I've been art journaling and using different mediums, I really found myself wanting something between a watercolour and acrylic paint, and that is gouache basically. Now, since my last video, I've been researching a little more into gouache, and because I haven't used it before, and I found out there are actually two different types. There is an acrylic based which can't be re-wet, and then there is another base which is what this one is. So apparently this can, don't ask me what the base is, I'm not too sure, but this can be re-wet apparently. I didn't think it could be, but when I did my research I found out that it can be. So because there are so many colours in here, obviously there are 60, they are premium, which means they are, if you have a look somewhere on here, they are artist grade in the sense that they you know, you have the opacity on here. Obviously gouache, as you know, or you may not know, is an opaque, it's very like an opaque watercolour, a lot of people compare it to. And you have the light fastness rating here as well, and I don't know, oh yeah, you do, you have the pigment colours in there as well, yeah, of course, yeah, here. So what I have done is I've purchased one of these palettes because I was going to I've got gold leaf everywhere from a previous video. So anyway, yeah, so I got one of these. I was going to work just from the tube, but what I've decided to do, just make sure you're in shot, yeah, is basically just use this for my gouache colours, well, for now anyway, for the purpose of this video mainly. I'll be trying to use as much space as possible to try and fit in 60 in here, which I think I can do. I've kind of counted, I'm pretty sure I can, well, I could mostly fit 60 in here anyway. So I'll be doing, like, putting little bits in here. I will then be swatching them out, and I will fast forward this, otherwise it's going to be a very long and boring video. I've got the Arteza journals, which are really lovely. They're really light, and they've taken, so like here's a colour swatch of their watercolour pencils, and then I did the stamp for the swatches and it didn't come through at all. And I've found as well the paper is white, like a bright white, and I found that when I've swatched out their colours, the colours really pop on this paper, which is another really good thing. So this is fantastic for practicing your watercolours or gouache or whatever media really. So I tested out the watercolours, as you can see they really pop there. Then I tested out their watercolour, their 36 watercolour palette, which is this one here, and I've actually added, because I got one of these palettes for this set here, I didn't have enough room to fit all of the watercolours in, so I've added the last few in this one. Now, as you can see, I'm just going to touch on this here. A few people have messaged me to say, oh, I've swatched out my watercolours but they've cracked, so they feel that they've done something. Actually, some people have said, what have I done wrong? You haven't done anything wrong at all. What that is the binder that they've used, and I have heard this but I haven't tested it out for myself, that you can use, if you don't want it to crack, you can use a drop of glycerine or honey, because honey is like a binder, natural binder, what some people do use when they're hand making watercolours. So I've yet to try that, but yeah, you can try some glycerine or honey, mix it in, but I have also heard that it will or may dilute your colour very slightly. So that is literally, maybe that's another video. Maybe I could try that with the Arteza watercolours, because I do know that they crack. If I quickly show you my other tin, the one that I was just talking about just now. Okay, so this is the tin that I bought for the other watercolours that I have from Arteza. You know, the big box. How many are? I can't remember how many there are in there. And as you can see, I've refilled them so that it fills to the top. But you can see here it's really cracked. So maybe I could do a video, depends on how you'll feel about that, and experiment by adding glycerine and honey to some of the colours and seeing how they dry. So maybe that's a good experiment we could do for another video. But I mean, honestly, that doesn't bother me at all because it still works. But I think it's one of those things it's not very visually appealing, but that again doesn't really bother me at all. So this just depends on your preferences. So if I pop those to one side, 1 second. Right, so the next thing I did in this journal was to, as you can see here, I've prepared for swatching out the gouache colours. Now I should have done this really for my other swatches, but at the time I just didn't think to. It really is a habit I should get into when it comes to testing watercolours. So I thought it was really important to do this just to test out the gouache anyway. So I used a Sharpie, so we'll see how we go. And normally a Sharpie really does bleed through a lot of things, but I'm actually surprised. I started out being really careful and all you can see is ghosting, and then I really did sort of like go heavy with it just to really push the limits of this paper. And you literally, I mean, you won't see this once the gouache is down. You can see there's ever so slightly some bleed through. You can definitely see the ghosting, but there's a tiny bits of bleed through. Again, you won't really see that once the gouache is on top. But that is a Sharpie pen, and Sharpies do go through a lot of papers. So I've really been pushing this paper to its limits. So it's a very good journal. I highly recommend it, especially the small ones for taking out with you to sort of journal and yeah, as a portable journal basically, because of the lightness of it. So super light. You have the elastic, and then you have at the back the clear, which I absolutely love. I think it's genius to have a clear plastic wallet. Obviously I know we're cutting down on plastics, so the plastic thing isn't great environmentally, but there are alternatives which I am researching when it comes to plastics. But yeah, I love the fact that you can see through that wallet. Yeah, so that is the small one, and I have linked everything below. I am an affiliate as well, but I test out everything and I give my honest opinion on all these things. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to start the swatching process, which is going to take me a pretty long time. I've made myself a cup of herbal tea to drink as I do this, lots of clean water. So I will speed this up for you, and then once I've swatched them all out, I will then talk about the paints themselves. And what I'm really excited about is the fact that I've seen some of these have mica in them, which means one thing: metallic. So we will yeah, right. Oh, another thing quickly before I start swatching them, I will say I will be going in the order that the colours have come in the box. My reasoning for that is that once they're down on the paper, I can see what the colours look like, and I can then, I mean, as you can see on here, they have pretty much put them in the colour order anyway, but some people have said, like with the watercolours, they didn't come in colour order, but I'm hoping this is actually pretty straightforward and in colour order, so we'll just see anyway how we go. So without further ado, I'm going to start swatching. new to gouache, so it took a while for me to really get the feel of it, especially using a new paintbrush as well. And so yeah, I was just really getting a feel for the paints. Second, I realised that with gouache, you can't really, and not on like the watercolour paper or cartridge paper, because it really soaks it up, sucks it in. You can't really use, so once you've wet your brush and you wiped off the water and then dip it into the gouache, really mix it in, and then you go to paint it onto the page, it literally sticks to the page straight away. It needs water so much, not so much water, but it just needs water to activate. And I'm probably preaching to the choir, so some people are obviously like well acquainted with gouache, but yeah, this is a new medium for me, but it's exactly what I thought it was going to be, a cross between acrylic and watercolour. As soon as you put like a tiniest bit of water with it to sort of activate it, it starts to really go on well and thick at the same time, or opaque. And then as soon as you add more water, that really activates it and it really starts becoming like a watercolour. So what I did was I applied it quite thickly to start with, and then I mixed more water with it. So as you can see at the bottom, it's less opaque and it's starting to turn more into watercolour. Now, because I was just getting used to it, ideally I could have even carried on a little bit more with more water, just to show you how much it really does become like a watercolour. Now, I think it was just after Ice Blue, was it? It was just after Pearl White Rose, I missed out Silver. So I've put that, it fits quite well, I've put that at the end. And as I was applying, as I was applying the pearlescent colours, let me just get this out of the way, I did use separate water for that. There you go. Let's see if you can see that properly. Let me just move this stand a little bit, that's better. Something's stopping that. Anyway, so as I used the pearlescents, I used a different water, because I don't know if you can see, in the pearlescent one you can see the mica in the water, and I frequently changed my water. I was constantly changing it up. So yeah, next I just had a look at, so right, I haven't added the colour pigment numbers on here yet, but I thought, oh, I'll have a look at the names of the gouache that match the names of the watercolour to see if their pigment colours matched. And when I looked at seaweed, so let's have a look at this one here, seaweed. So the watercolour, it looks similar, but seaweed looks much more opaque and darker, but they do have the same pigment numbers. And I realised that if I started to add more water to the seaweed, I would get that more watercolour look. But obviously I'm not going for the watercolours, I'm going for obviously the opaqueness of the gouache, which I'm sorry, I'm just looking back and I'm just really pleased with these colours, with the assortment of colours here. So some of the colours were really, like I said before, you needed a bit of water to activate it. Some of them went on really thickly and they were like quite, you know, very rich, very not fluid, you know, like a heavy body acrylic, almost like that. Whereas some of the colours, and I would say that's mostly the pearlescent colours, went on like a fluid acrylic. So they were a lot less heavy and a lot more manoeuvrable, you know. So if I just quickly have a look on the box here, you can see here the opaqueness levels, and obviously pretty much all of them are opaque, but some of them, so like the peach red, which is very much like a neon pink, isn't as opaque at all. In fact, the opaqueness is it just does, it says it's not really opaque there. Rose, so it's looking like the pinks and the reds. So rose, where are we? Where's rose here? Not as opaque. It says, well, it's got like a half opacity. That is one of my favourite colours in this palette. It's absolutely gorgeous. let's have a look. Scarlet Red says that's got half, yeah, yeah, as soon as you add water you can see. But the pearl orange here, I find that the mica ones with mica have, I was going to say less opacity, only ever so slightly though. But this bronze is stunning. I don't know if you can actually see. I'm going to turn it upside down. I don't know if you can see that bronze. There, look. Absolutely gorgeous. Look at that lilac there. These colours, oh, absolutely stunning. So when you compare the bronze to the gold is less opaque. But look at this pearl emerald green. How nice is that? It's got an ever so slight green shimmer to it. And I might actually swatch all these pearlescent ones together just to see, you know, to see them all grouped together like that. Oh, and the pearl noir. Look at these ones here. Aren't they nice? So beautiful. Pearl eucalyptus as well. The crimson red is an absolutely stunning colour. And then you have, let's have a look, any persons. You've got, I'll put the silver down here. I really love that stone blue, but I loved it when I swatched it out in the watercolour as well, and I use that quite often. So where he is, stone blue. And again, in the watercolours, I really love that rose. The rose, I love the seaweed as well. Really, really beautiful. So it will be really interesting to see how some of these colours will, because I really do want to swatch some of them out with some white as well, like see how the crimson red turns out. But obviously, like with mauve, now let's have a look if it's in here somewhere. I think it's, so it has got so white PW6. It's funny because the titanium white and the white says it has, both has PW6, no other colour. Anyway, let me just have a look. So all the ones that are like a pastel colour have obviously white mixed into them, so PW6. Just having a look here. So like, yeah, your olive green, where's olive green on here? Got sage green there, that has white mixed into it. So yeah, they have mixed white into some of these colours to make that beautiful sort of pastel colours. Really lovely. So yeah, here's the tray once I've finished with it. Once these have dried slightly, once they're dried, I will close this and then go back to it and reuse it. And it is all in order. I can refer back to my swatches for reference, so I know which colour is which. So I can leave that to one side there to dry. But my aim now is to start doing some artwork in my art journal with the gouache, and I really wanted to experiment with this medium. I have a few ideas that I want to run with. So yeah, I'll be using this in future videos, particularly as well on my Patreon. So go and check it out if you haven't already. The link is below. Now the link below, sorry, I have linked below to all these materials as well, including should have the brush pens, which I will be testing out in a later video as well, because I'm obviously trying to practice my brush lettering. But I found also that the brush pens are not only good for brush lettering but also for watercolouring, and they give a very precise sort of like, because of the brush, you know, you have very precise movement with them. So yeah, that is the Arteza gouache. I really can't wait to use those in future projects, so stay tuned for that. And if you do have any questions, please leave them below and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Okay, thanks for watching. Take care. Bye.